listening
Recording
to
in
the
progress.
MLS Fantasy Insiders, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game. All right, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Sorry for the slightly delayed start. I was doing some stuff with Baby Roo, and Blaine was late, and we were talking about crazy stuff, and Blaine wasn't late. He was late for good reason, so don't worry about that. But we had lots of stuff going on, but welcome to everyone who's with us tonight. I am just now sending out the social notifications through Twitter. Already had some out there before, but if you are listening to us, really do appreciate you go ahead and sharing those on social. And if you're joining us for the first time on YouTube, please kindly like and subscribe. You don't have to hit the bell notification, I guess, but you can if you want. I appreciate it. Helps our metrics. Helps keep the community growing. There are still people who join. I usually get 1 or 2 notifications a week, and I'm always like, yeah, new people. All right, let's spread the word. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Yes, for those of you in chat, a heads up notice, we do have Cameron joining us, the #1 round rank for round 11. So he has dodged being on the show before, but he could not at this point. It was just like, you have to. You absolutely have to. So we are pretty much good to go. Again, thanks for joining us. A big double game week, so we're going to have a lot of talk about that. Also have an important MLS update that I'm going to give at the top of the show as well, so I'll go ahead and get that queued up so I don't spend time queuing it up later. But if you guys are ready, then we'll go ahead and get this started.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of Double Game Week Round 12 of the 2020 season. This episode is brought to you by Inter Miami, showing us all that MLS is not a retirement league. Actually brought to you by the amazing Patreon supporters of the MLS Fantasy Insider. It's because of you all that we're able to keep this project going, and it's so fantastic. I'm your host, Reed Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partners in fantasy, Blaine Riffle and Ashley Savage. I would also like to welcome our special guest, Cameron, from the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord server. How are you all doing tonight?
I'm good.
Yeah, doing really well.
Doing great.
I like how there was that slight pause as both Cameron and Ashley were waiting for Blaine to say, I'm good, because
his spot.
it just has to happen. Like
Yeah.
That's the way it is. No, we're very excited to have Cameron on the show with us tonight. We've tried to get him on before. For those of you who frequent the Discord server, you've likely seen Cameron around. He's one of our moderators. Actually, everyone on the show is a moderator on our Discord server. But yeah, Cameron's around, shells out some good advice. But particularly this week, Cameron, why could you not say no to joining us tonight?
Well, it's hard to say no when I can flex on everybody by being literally better than all of them.
Yeah.
Because I got week rank 1.
There we go. That's right, Cameron. I say it all the time.
Just don't look at my overall rank.
It happens. I say it to everyone that we have some of the best fantasy players, some past winners, and some weekly rank 1s often at our Discord server, and Cameron is one of them. So head over there, MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord, the easiest way to join the Discord server. It's a great community. You talk to people like Cameron. So head over there and learn some stuff. Breaking news right now. I don't know if this is breaking news, but it is a piece of information that several people have been asking me, has been the talk for a week or so in the forum, in the fantasy community, and I have an update right now that has to do with the social media login being broken for fantasy, for both PC and mobile. So I've reached out to Skylar, and he's given me an update, and I'm going to share it tonight. And here is straight from Skylar, who is our connection with MLS and from a fantasy champion as well. The app team has put in a fix in place, and it passed quality assurance last night. But as a best practice, we don't release the app on weekends unless necessary. Maybe some of you all would have felt it was necessary, but that's their stance. They don't release it on weekends unless necessary. So we'll release first thing Monday morning. So many of you may have already gotten an update that should have solved this. We've been in contact with Facebook this week, but their systems did not allow Facebook to re-enable the MLS integration until the app update had been released. As soon as that release is out, Facebook will be able to re-enable the login controls across all channels. And he knows that the MLS social team at MLS Fantasy has been responding to the feedback on the issue. So big thanks to both Jonathan and Skylar for doing that. And that MLS is prepared to work with any player who may escalate any players who may escalate if we need to make it right. So just reach out to the @MLS Fantasy account if you have further questions about the login or any difficulties with the login. He did ask me to try to clean that up a little bit before relaying it. I may have just butchered it more as I was relaying it. But I think
We get it.
I thought it was pretty good the way it was. I mean, there was a problem. They had to do some testing. They didn't just throw it out there to get it fixed. But they worked with Facebook. The push should have gone out today. So if your apps need updated, or if you need to refresh your cache, delete your cookies, check TCP/IP settings, you want this dog, anything like that, then go and give that a try.
Just in case people are like me, I think what you said is close the browser and open it again. You said a lot of things.
Well, I was actually trying to make a Family Guy joke, and so I don't know if anybody.
Okay.
If anybody.
I was like, are those all real computers?
I don't know if
all
anybody
on the internet
caught that. But no, I mean, yeah, close your browsers, delete your cache, anything you want to do that you need to check it out. But update should have gone out this morning, and then just got to get everything refreshed to see if it works. Check it out, and if not, hit up @MLS Fantasy, and that should get you in touch with Skylar or one of the other social media team there, and they can help further troubleshoot. But it should be fixed. It should be fixed. So I don't log in with my social. I'm not
going to anymore.
There are very few things I ever connected to my social media accounts, and I just never did that. So I've always just had it the old-fashioned way. But there's the update. I know people were looking forward to it, so I hope that is helpful as we continue on. And of course, let's continue on with how we did this round. So Ashley, starting with you.
Yeah, I Almada, and I'm really glad that I did. I came out with 96, which was a weak rank of 21. I was really excited about. So Cam got here, and now I'm just trying to play catch up. But 21, I think was my best overall week ranking of the year so far. Probably because I wasn't on last week, so it's that non-co-host curse effect where I wasn't hosting, so I had a really good week.
Exactly.
I moved up in overall ranking to 76th, and I'm 65th in Champions League, which is so close. It's 3 points out. So this is going to be a real make or break week for me for that. So generally a pretty good week. Not a lot of busts. I benched Nathan. I benched Chicharito. I blame Skylar for even having Chicharito. That was like a real thing I wasn't very invested into, but I had Taxi, had Amada. That kind of carried me through the rest. Went Nico instead of Roldan. I kept going back and forth about that, and obviously Roldan would have been better. But yeah, generally pretty decent week.
Blaine, what about you?
Yeah, absolute disaster. I got a 68. Yeah, it's. I mean, I was right in saying that Keel would be outscored by one of the Atlanta guys I wanted to captain. I just didn't realize my captain was still on Cisneros and not Almada.
Oh.
Now, in my defense, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw the big excuse out there. I was celebrating my grandparents' 65th wedding anniversary this weekend, so I got to check absolutely nothing on this game. So for the team I picked last week in set, I'm not too disappointed. I thought I had the armband on Almada, so that was a huge mistake there. But I mean, I got decent scores other than my defense. My defense just absolutely tanked. But 68, I mean, it's a bad week rank, but my overall rank really didn't drop that far. I think I dropped 30 or 40 positions with that bad of a score. So I'm not going to complain a whole lot about that. But yeah, if I had captained Almada, it would have been so much better. That's where I thought it was, but I had more fun doing what I was doing than keeping up with my fantasy team. So I'm going to take that as a win and just suck it up for a horrible week this week.
Yeah, I think Almada would definitely have been a differential captain pick, kind of out of left field, at least from what I think a lot of people were talking about. I don't know, maybe we'll hear Cameron be like, yeah, of course I captained Almada. What are you talking about? But Cameron, go ahead and share yours.
Yeah, so I ended up on a 104, which I think was tied for week rank 1. So I don't know what sort of tiebreakers they implement, but mine says 1.
There you go.
I
all
had
that
my
matters.
whole bench end up hitting. At that lineup drop for Toronto, Orlando, I decided that without Pozuelo, I wanted to get on some of these Orlando defense picks, so I grabbed Galese and Schlegel, and then had Castellanos and Fountas joining them on the bench. So I ended up with the rare 4 scrub situation.
Nice.
And then everybody else just kind of hit. I mean, Wagner, Callan, Shaqiri, Lucho, Almada, Captain Heel, not Almada. And I should have been more tempted to captain Almada, apparently.
Yeah.
Going into that last game, I had Lodero, and I just needed him to get just a 7, and I would be weak rank 1. And so I was sitting there and waiting until he got that extra time goal.
Yeah.
I mean,
That brings me to 62 overall. And I think I'm just inside Fantasy Champions League at 46.
very nice. I mean,
So we got
who among us would have expected Blanco to be the best captain of this round with that
Not
absolute
me.
monster performance?
Yeah.
So I wanted to go last just because, as you may have noticed on one of my Twitter posts this afternoon, something amazing and magical and fantastic, and something that has not happened to me in the 9 years that I have played MLS Fantasy happened, and that is after the morning point adjustment, I gained a point. And I went
Amazing.
from a 91 to a 92. And that may not sound like much because, sure, you gained a point, Reed. What's the big deal? That means I won every one of my head-to-heads this week.
Yes.
I had already won all except for one, and I tied Black and Red in our Champions League Pro Realm with 91, and then I got the point adjustment. He didn't get it.
No. We doubled up on him because he was playing me this week too.
That's right.
Now I feel bad because
That's
he's so good.
It was his
He's
own
so
little
good.
MLSFI derby, and when it came down to was Callan's. He went from 10 to 11, and I got that extra point, and that did it. And so I'm gonna take it, and I know Black and Red's
poor
in
Black
the
and
chat
Red.
right now, so I'm definitely shouting out because he's a tough player. Already beat me once or twice this year already in our head-to-head. So I'll take this one for the Big Champions League. But so that was a great thing. Thank you, Skylar, for that. We were chatting in the Discord that night when we had seen that we had drawn. We were like, just wait, I'll lose like 5 points when it comes to this, or we'll both lose 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was just totally expecting that. Other than that, had an average week with 92. I had a good showing, average showing with my midfield. Good performance from my forwards. I had Tati and I had Taxi, so some good points right there. Little with my defense. I had the wrong Roldan, so that's fine. And then I just did not get my keeper route to work out at all. I had Bond and I had Fry, and I wasn't hot on Fry, but he was really the only way I could go with Bond. And I had a budget problem. I'm sitting here at the lowest with us. I haven't cracked 130 yet, so I guess I stopped focusing on budget a little bit too early, and it came to bite me a little bit this week when I was trying to get some of those picks in. But 92 definitely not shabby. Went up in the ranks. I see a lot of great scores over here in chat. Some people in the 70s, some people in the 80s and 90s, people all over. This was actually a rough round, and we knew it was going to be a rough round with so many of these teams that normally we like to kind of draw from were on the road. And so this was, I think we saw a lot of varied teams this week and who was picking up and deciding which road games might have been the best, or even, I mean, a Houston defender made the dream team. Like how does that happen? So
we saw some rotation from Open Cup as well. I
For
feel
sure.
like. And so that kind of, I think, took some people, not by surprise, but forced some people into tinkering. And we all know we don't usually do our best when we're forced to tinker instead of choosing to.
And so tonight's episode, we're going to focus a lot on this upcoming Big Double Game Week. But before we get to that, guys, let's get some quick takeaways from round 11 that we think are important to highlight. Blaine, starting with you.
Yeah, LAFC's defense is bad.
Yeah.
I know we've kind of picked on them a little bit. I don't think it's been the highlight it should have been, like Toronto has been. They gave up 2 penalty goals to Colorado, and Colorado is not a great scoring team.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're giving up 2 penalties to a team that's that bad on offense, there's something going wrong. They've been giving up goals all season, and so I'm betting against LAFC a lot when the offense coming into them is pretty good. This year's not a year for clean sheets, and that's what we've kind of had to worry about all season. This is a bonus point year. It proved it again this year as well, or this week as well. I went clean sheet hunting a little bit more, knowing I was going to be gone, and just it didn't work. And then I don't think it would be a good takeaway segment if I didn't mention my own team and just how the wheels fell off on that one. That was rough. I kind of put it out there in Discord chat, but I have one philosophy with Kansas City that I followed for years. I mean, it's the Burmese tenure. We're only as good as our number 6 on defense. When our 6 is slow playing against a fast team, which is sort of what we ran into with Blanco. Blanco was exploiting speed and open spaces and passing through it. When our 6 can't cover the ground and do that for the guys that are there, we just get eaten through the lines, and that's what happened here. And then you lose a center back to a red card and don't replace him, and it exploits that space even more, and that's where the wheels fell off. And so if you're watching Kansas City play, if you see fast teams coming up against them, you got to bet against Kansas City at that point. Don't know what's going on where. There's going to be some changes coming. Shallowy's out for the next week with a call-up, or soon for the call-up, whenever that is. It's just there's going to be some differences there. I think Kansas City can find goals, but I think they're going to give up a lot going forward still. I thought they were getting better, and yeah, they've got some athleticism that's out there, but if you get speed through the lines, which Portland had, it's going to be goals.
All right, Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of piggyback off that to say that I don't think anybody should start fangirling over Portland just yet because they posted up 7 goals. I think that might be a turning point for an offense that hasn't really been clicking. But I swear to God, if I see Blanco in every single person's team this week, it's just you're just hopping on a train that I think left and already came back to the station. It's a huge thing to get that type of score at home, but there's a lot of things about the Portland team from a fantasy perspective, like Yimi Chara, who I think is someone that most people have picked from Portland's midfield and attack throughout the season, posted one of the lower scores of the week. Blanco at 6 million, the best fantasy player of the week. I think for me, the only fantasy player that I kind of take seriously from Portland on a weekly consistent basis is Bill Tuiloma. Another goal. Obviously they didn't get a shutout, but he's another that's putting up really good bonus points and getting involved off set pieces, and I think he's worth a look. I think that FC Dallas and Montreal and NYCFC are just continuing to keep rolling. Wasn't too sure with Stella playing how that would look. Wasn't too sure how Montreal would do going into Charlotte, who has been shockingly strong defensively. Still put up 2 goals. And I just want to say, because I always pick one every year, it's been Tati for the last 2 or 3 years. But I love Campana. I don't know if you guys saw that stat going around. I think Ryan retweeted it, that this was the Damian Lowe goal for Miami. It was the first goal not either scored by or contributed to by Campana since April. Or no. Now I'll have to look. But for a minute, for a significant stretch of time, he's been contributing to that, any score coming out of that team. I like him. I don't think he's fixture-proof, but I like him. And then I don't know if this is a segue because, Reed, you don't always contribute, but is FC Cincinnati not bad? Has it been enough of a stretch that we can say don't always pick against, don't triple up against them anymore? They beat Chicago at Chicago.
Yeah, so I'll jump in real quick because that was the one comment I was going to make and to let Cameron take us home. But Chicago is still not awesome. I mean, they're not a strong team. So people are talking about you played Toronto twice and you had this easy schedule. And Toronto was not hard. We're playing New England this week. It's going to be a harder game to see. But the answer to your question is no. I don't believe Cincinnati is the team that you automatically triple up against or bet against. Nwobodo is helping in the midfield. It has made life easier for Lucho to go out there and actually do what Lucho does. Having Baji and Vasquez up top gives that attacking dynamic that we need. And so more pieces are coming into place. The defense is doing better. Our super draft goalkeeper is standing on his head. I don't know if standing on his head is the right thing, but he's doing very well.
He's showing. He's showing.
Yeah, he's doing very well. He's justified his pick. I think he's justified his pick for this point. So we are not playing as bad as we were the past 3 years, which I know sounds like not a huge compliment you can give to Cincinnati for how bad they played.
Compliment.
But it is a huge compliment for Cincinnati. So no, I don't think Cincinnati is a team you automatically bet against. I think they hit that. It's one block up in the fantasy world for what Cincinnati is, and it's like always bet against them, and then above that it's okay, situationally I'm going to bet against this team. And so it's definitely where, like, okay, like what Blaine was saying, is their speed, is it whatever metric you want to use for picking it, that's what you can use with Cincinnati now, is really comparing that matchup versus just like, Cincy, great, I want 3 of those players. So definitely an improvement going up. Cameron, takeaways from you.
I think I'll agree with you here that Cincinnati's, you know what, shockingly not terrible. They might be making some noise, but I do want to reinforce that Chicago is not as great as they seemed early in the season.
Correct.
Perhaps backed up by my T-shirt here, with my owls on them. Beat them away in the Open Cup. So maybe Chicago isn't quite the stalwart that they used to be. My main takeaway this week was one that is kind of just the same takeaway I have every week, which is don't tinker too much. You don't need to. I know it's tempting to jump on the bandwagon when everybody's going on about a lineup drop and all the possibilities for points, but generally you set your team for a reason, and unless those original reasons changed, you should probably stick with it. It's ironic that my very best ever fantasy week came when I didn't start making a lineup until Friday night, and then made one change to it, which was just jumping on the first good clean sheet opportunity I saw. Had I, kept thinking and overanalyzing all these lineups, I would have swapped out of so many players. And I'm very glad that I didn't.
Yeah, it happens. That's the absolute solid advice. And it happens at all levels. You should see sort of like the experts chat that we have at Discord, of people like throwing some stuff back and forth and second guessing and things. And even like messages I'll send to Blaine and Ashley like, what about this? And they're like, what are you thinking? Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. I was just tweaking with something, but this is what I'm really going to do. So
to be fair, we never say, what are you thinking? We say, so tell me about.
No, exactly. That's what it was. Why did you make that? It's like, I don't know. But now we realize the answer is because I have less money than you all do. So
yeah, sure.
That's what that is.
True.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. The last thing I will shout out is we have to give a big shout out to Tyler, who was on the show last week. His curse is broken. He attended the Seattle game and they won. So,
oh my gosh.
So maybe he'll actually get to go back to the stadium now and watch games.
So
big congrats.
I didn't go. Am I the curse now?
Maybe. I think that's how curses work.
Transfer?
Oh yeah, we'll have to work it out.
All right. Well, you guys work that out. We're going to get ready for the housekeeping for round 12. Okay. Social. That's great when the buttons work. Okay. Get that prepped. Oh, crap. Okay, here we go. All right, let's talk housekeeping for the big double game week that is round 12. But first, a quick recap for our Experts League and the Pro Rel Leagues. Back on top over in the MLS Fantasy Insider Experts League is our very good friend Ryan Anderson of Lineup IQ with a score of 9-0-2. So not undefeated, but 9-0-2 just has inched out Ashley, who was at the top last week, but Ashley is tied for second.
I was only on the top for 1 week. I haven't been on the top for a hot minute.
Yeah,
I'm clawing my way back up.
You are a solid number 2 right now.
Yeah.
So it could be Ryan Anderson on top, 9-0-2, and then also another familiar name heading on over to the MLS Fantasy Insider, or the MLS Fantasy Boss Pro Rel Champions League, and that is our good patron and recent guest, Patrick Smith, Dunder Mifflin B team. He also has a score of 9-0-2 and is solidly on top. Some really tough competition right behind him as well. I am out of the relegation zone, and that's really all I care about after that win right there. So good things. But Ashley, what about our second division?
Yeah, Sloppy Steaks is still on top. I think this is the 4th week in a row now. There is a tie, a record tie, but they are still on top by points. So holding on to that lead steadily.
Blaine, definitely.
Yeah, we got a major shakeup here. FC Red Bull Green Mountain took a loss and tumbled all the way to 6th. Yeah. And he is no longer the leader of his points range. He's 9-0-2, and he is second at the 9-0-2s.
Oh, wow.
This was actually special for me this week. I kind of kept track that there was a name popping up. Maxime Verret. He's a Montreal fan, but he's also part of our draft league online. One of our admins that really helps out a lot. And I'm going to do this for him. He is now on top, but he has changed his team name recently. He used to be Snowflakes FC, but he is now Jordy for MVP. And I think
I'm in that.
A big case to say that. So Mihailovic is probably my early season MVP. Maxime is pushing for him here, and he just took the top spot in our league. So I think all around, I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see the name change on the team. And Development League just got really interesting because we've got a lot of guys in striking distance of the top now.
It's all interesting. All these leagues. This has been a great experiment. I hope everyone's enjoying it. And like I said, we're going to do our best to try to keep this going next season. I've got the email addresses. We're going to send out the invites when the leagues get. I'll try to contact people at the end to make sure you reserve your spot and you're still going. It might get a little weird next year, but we're going to make this happen because it's so much fun. It's been so much fun. Okay, let's move on to the actual round 12 information, the double game week.
Real double game week.
The real double game week.
This is the real one.
Everybody.
First real one.
The real one. So, as we're saying, the games start this week, Wednesday, May 18th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to have pretty much your whole lineup set by then. Game started again 7:30 p.m. with 3 games kicking off: DC versus New York City, New York Red Bulls versus Chicago, and Philadelphia versus Miami. But as far as what you need to know, an easy way is to head over to the Discord channel, go to the MLS, just our main MLS channel, and the pin icon at the top right corner, the top right section, you can click on that and you'll see that Samurai Panda has pinned just a really quick graphic for all of the single game week and double game week teams. It's just easier to tell you who's on a single this week. That's Columbus, Toronto, FC Cincinnati, New England Revolution, Atlanta, Real Salt Lake, Charlotte, and Orlando. Those are all the single game week teams. You may find something from there. We'll talk about that in a second, but those are the single teams. As far as doubles go, DC United, Nashville, and San Jose all have a double home game. So if you're new to this setup, new to the game, that means both of their games are at home this week, which is usually an advantage as far as expected points. Chicago and Seattle are both games going to be on the road, so a double away team right there. So maybe some rough times there. Everybody else is splitting home and aways. I know Ashley mentioned Portland earlier. They're splitting a home and away game right there. So that's how it all breaks down. Again, if you want to see that in an easy to look at graphic, head over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord, the MLS channel, and click on the pin, that little thumbtack icon in the top corner, and you see Samurai Panda's quick little picture there.
Patrick also tweeted it, and I just retweeted it as well. If you aren't on Discord,
Perfect.
which you should be, but if you aren't,
right. Tweet that image and the link to the Discord, and that's what's going to be perfect. So, that's the best place to check it out. No teams are on a bye, so everyone is in play this week. That means if you are looking for
Orlando
switcheroo option, is it Orlando?
Orlando is the latest single game week team.
So there you go. So Orlando, they play at 8:00 p.m. on Sunday, so you'll have a lot of time before it gets there. The only other game that's later is the 10 p.m. with Portland and Philly, but yeah, Orlando is going to be your best pick. They should have some cheap options as well. Orlando's there, and you should probably get Orlando if you even get there. But so let's talk about who's away, because this yellow cards and everything are going to be really important this week. Blaine, do you have a wrap up from our mega reference?
Yeah, Tyler Ranch gave us a great update. Good news, Jairo Torres is back for Chicago, or got his first appearance for Chicago. And Jack Price is back from injury with Colorado. That's a huge boost to Colorado. I'm just going to read through this list of, we've got a lot of red cards and suspensions. Jose Martinez for Philly, Dylan Nealis, Red Bulls, Lundqvist for Houston, Van Rankin for Portland, Volader for Kansas City, Espinoza for Kansas City, Durkin for DC, Matt Polster, it's not listed here. I can't remember where he's at. I don't know that anybody actually takes him anyway.
He's at New England.
Yeah. Koulibaly for LA Galaxy, and they have been a good defense. Pereira for Austin in the midfield, been quietly one of their stronger players in that midfield, consistent points. Scott Caldwell for RSL, defensive midfielder there, who's kind of held it together. And then Hadaby for Houston. They are all suspended this week for either red cards or yellow. Van Rankin actually may be a double suspension, so you watch that. I think he's got a red card plus a yellow accumulation both. So he may serve one for the red and then another one for the yellow because he picked up 2 yellows in that game. So he may be out for both games of this double. Few injuries to talk about. It was mentioned already, Pozuelo missed. They're calling it a lower body tweak. Kieran Gibbs for Miami was unknown. Hollingshead came out with a lower leg injury for LA. Perusa for Toronto pulled a hammy. And then Kyoto for Montreal is a possible shoulder dislocation. So that could be a few weeks there. And then really great news here. We've got some yellow card watch players for the double game week. And this is a huge thing. It's the first one we've really had. These are guys you would expect to play 2 games and kind of rely on. If they pick up a yellow in the first game of the double game week, they would be suspended for the second one. 2 huge names right off the top are Tati Castellanos and Kai Wagner. That's huge implications for this week. Those are guys I think everybody's looking at. If they pick up a yellow in the first, they are done for the week. Alex Ring, Darwin Quintero, Julian Carranza, and Lucas Cavallini are also on this list of 1 yellow, and they're suspended for the second game. And those are guys we see pick up yellows pretty consistently. So tread lightly with those guys as you go through. And that's all Ranch has on the list for me today. Thank you, Ranch, and thank you, Discord team, for putting this together today. I know it's always a busy Monday and a lot of hard work goes into this. So thank you for that. That's a ton of good information going into this round.
Yes, very helpful. And again, as we already mentioned multiple times, if you want to check out the mega reference for yourself, head over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord. That's mlsfantasyboss.com/Discord. The easiest way to check that out. And head over to the Fantasy Tools sub-channel, and it's just right there. It's pinned. You can scroll up a little bit. You'll find all that stuff. It's a fantastic reference with a lot of information, especially during a double game week. But now, I know what you guys are really here for. You want to know who to target, and that's what we're talking about next. That's a good one. I sucked with the transitions last week, and it's so much better. It's so much better.
Yeah, you're knocking them out of the park tonight.
Yeah, there we go. So I've got the quick single game week section, and then we'll go through everybody else. But we'll want to try to keep it tight just because it's double game week. And feel free to be like nobody for singles. So. All right, chat 44 viewers. Hello, viewers. Welcome. This is, of course, the buffer that gets cut out before we get there, and you're here just in time. Social, please share for the chat that we're going to do. So here we go. All right, we're back, and we're getting ready to talk about our target players for this double game week, round 12, huge double game week. The quick starter, because I don't think there are many, but have to check, because every round there's always at least one. But open question for any of you 3: are there any single game week players that you are legitimately considering for this round?
Nope.
I'll throw out one that I'm not, but maybe people are. I know we just talked about how FC Cincinnati, you need to pick against all the time, but Carlos Heel and the New England Revolution are going to Cincinnati. That is normally a game that I would be interested in, but with the amount of people on doubles, I'm not. I think that the only sensible conversation would be that. But that's not something that I'm going to mess with at all. There's too many good matchups. This isn't like when we had 2 teams on the double, or the other double game weeks that we started with this season. This is a real action-packed one, so I don't see how you could.
And
Yep,
this...
the only single game week players that I have are scrubs.
Scrubs. There we are.
So
Yeah.
fallbacks and scrubs. Otherwise, you want players with 2 games.
Yeah. And of course, to point out one more thing with Ashley with Cincinnati, this is a rematch of the recent Open Cup game, but not really, because the team that Cincinnati fielded is not what you will see this weekend. So that was a different look. New England will have probably a lot of the same players, so that's definitely a strong New England team. But Cincinnati, that was not what you're going to see for what they have put out. So no, I think you're right. There will likely be somebody. No one's going to be able to pick who it is. Maybe Tyler Kane in a differentials article, but we'll see who it is this week, and maybe it'll change everything. So let's start focusing on those double game week players, starting with keepers and defenders. The majority of what we have with this group right now, people are leaning towards Blake on the keeper side, and then on the defender side, even though there is yellow card watch, people are liking Wagner and Callens and Gressel. So who else are you all thinking about? Blaine?
Yeah, I don't have much difference there. Willis was one of those first goalkeepers I looked at because of the double home potential for clean sheets there. I don't like a lot of clean sheets this week. That's the way I always start. I mean, Willis is playing Montreal and Atlanta. They're both home games, but those are 2 teams that can put up a lot of goals and have some really powerful playmakers that are coming in there. So Blake is probably my primary keeper because of that. I like the matchups. Budget-wise, I'm actually on Fry at the moment. I know that's a double away game for him, but he's 6.1 because he missed so much time. Houston is not a team that has been putting up a ton of goals, and if Seattle's going to figure it out defensively, I don't mind that matchup. And then the same way on the back end, Colorado's not a team I'm seeing put up a ton of goals. I like this I like these 2 matchups for somebody who is cheap. I ran into budget issues in my first draft. I was over budget, had to downgrade Blake to Fry to get under budget. So that was kind of a really gut pick right there, but I don't mind it. I think you can do better with Blake, but I'm throwing him out there that I think Fry is your budget option for the week on a couple of solid matchups. Other name I really like, given who they're playing, I like Cascante for Austin. It's a split, but it's against LAFC for the first one. That's not big clean sheet chance, but he gets involved in the attack a lot. LA is a team I've been betting against a lot for offensive potential. I think Cascante can do that. And same with Orlando. I think he's going to fare well in that matchup going forward. And then obviously any of the Nashville or San Jose, they've got double home. You always like to see that in a double game week. Double home just helps, especially with defenders. You're going to pick up bonus points, and I don't think you can really go wrong if you're taking a bonus point guy from Nashville or San Jose. I think they're a little bit tougher matchup. San Jose's probably got the better clean sheet chance. Nashville's got the better bonus point chance with the attackers coming at them, just more opportunities to rack up stats and pick up those bonus points. So I think those are kind of your bread and butter picks this week, even though I'm kind of leaning towards Cascante, hoping for one boom somewhere in there.
Fantastic. Cameron, how about you?
So I've got a lot of the same thoughts. I love the double homes, but more than I love double homes, I love stats. And so I always start my team building with Ryan's his stats that he posts every week, and he's got the clean sheet stats out early this week for everybody to prepare for the double game week, and they are leading me towards the Red Bulls, Philly, New York City, and Nashville. And so I'm stacking up on those teams. I've got Coronel as my goalkeeper, and due to budget concerns, he's my only goalkeeper. But then I'm playing Zimmerman from the bench, and I've got Kai Wagner starting. And then with the double home and for the price, I've got Nathan here, but I think if Zimmerman hits, Nathan ends up scrubbed. And I love Gressel's bonus points here, and he's got a couple decent matchups, and so he rounds out my group. If I had the money, I would probably be trying to do a goalkeeper switcheroo with 2 double game week goalkeepers. So like, that would have been probably Coronel into maybe a Kripo, but I don't have the money, so it's not something I'm even considering. And then I've got Caruso from Charlotte as a scrub candidate if my bench hits, and if my bench all fails, then I've got Carujo with a decent single game week chance.
Yeah, if you wanted to go with one of those old keeperoo switcheroos, then I guess it is Nashville who's going to play first. They're playing on Wednesday, and then they're going to play that last game on Saturday. And so you'd be able to see the last go. I mean, DC and stuff, other players are playing as well, but I mean, Nashville's probably your best chance if you wanted to see all those points before you then take a flyer on one of the single game week teams, which I don't know. But yeah, always a risk. Good way to save money during a big double game because just run with one keeper. So you're going to get some good points for those keepers regardless, as long as they're playing, and maybe get a shutout. So yep. I think you guys covered everything. Let's move on to.
I didn't get to go.
Oh, I skipped you?
You always skip me on defense. I don't have much else to contribute.
I'm sorry. Next week, I'm going to bold your name and
No, don't do
I'm
it.
going to highlight it with Sounders green, and that's what we're going to
it.
see. Yeah. Tell me.
I won't add too much to this. I would, the only other name that no one said that I'm considering as a bench play is Alistair Johnston from Montreal. Getting in on that wingback action, scored this past weekend. He's been on the score sheet in some capacity. I don't know if often is fair, but enough. And he's cheaper. He's 6.9. And then for those struggling with budget, I encourage you to do some back and forth looking at some of these more expensive Wagner and Gressels to similar counterparts in Harriel and the Smiths, or Nahar if he's healthy, but I don't think he is. Just because occasionally there's only a 1 or 2 point difference between those players, but there's like a $3 million difference in them. So, we're not trying to promote clean sheet hunting like Blaine said, but if you are looking at some of those defenses and you like them, but you can't pay $10 million for every defender, I encourage you to look at some of the, not necessarily the cheaper defenders, but defenders who are putting up comparable points like Harriel and like Brad Smith for the Wagners and the Gressels. So, yeah.
Excellent. Apologies, but fortunately we're going on to midfield, which you get to kick off.
Did it. I'll just keep talking.
Keep talking.
A lot of us like Mukhtar and Mihailovic and Droyusi came up a lot. I really like Mihailovic this week. He's just really hitting a stride that I like. I also like Mukhtar. I like Gazdag for Philly. He started to get a little goal dependent, but he was on such a goal scoring streak that it didn't matter. But I still like him and his matchups. I also am kind of stealing this because Black and Red had him when I played him in head-to-head this week, and he crushed it with Espinoza. When I saw that he had him, I was like, ooh. And then he got 11 points, so I was like, whoops. I think that he's been putting up enough, and then of course I looked at what he's been producing and things like that. Obviously, he's producing better in the chaos games, but I think San Jose has a slate of possible chaos games for them this week, which he would do well in. And then I really want to do Maxi for NYCFC. I know Blaine especially is so hot on Rodriguez for such a stretch. I can't fit him into my team right now because I have Sean John, Callens, and Tati. So I would need to either drop Sean John or Callens. And I'm also not totally sure if I think Maxi will play both. Historically, he hasn't, and that wasn't coming off an injury. This was the first full point production game he's had since he came back from, what was it? It was like a rib thing or something. So I'm just not incredibly convinced that he'll go both. But he is a cheaperish midfielder. He's 9.1 that I'm considering if I decide to drop some of my double NYCFC defensive coverage.
So I want to jump in right here before Cameron does his picks. I was curious about New York City, and I've got a lot of draft implications on there. Ashley's right. I'm high on Santi, and I've been worried all season long. What's going to happen to Santi when Maxi gets healthy?
Yeah,
What's going to happen to all of these guys when Maxi is healthy?
Point production wise, obviously the team's still doing well. But
It's positionally, it's everything. I'm like, so when Maxi has been healthy, Santi has played the right wing position predominantly for this team. because Talis Magno has been so good as a midfielder on that left wing. He has been excellent. So this week is the first week Maxi has been back and starting. Santi was playing in the middle as the 10 still because they are that good of a team. Maxi got relegated back a line in the 4-2-3-1. He's playing on that 2 line next to Keaton Parks at the moment. I wanted to throw this out there because anybody who's on Maxi loves what Maxi can do. I love what Maxi can do. And if he's the 10, I'm not taking Santi. I'm taking Maxi in these weeks. But he is playing back a line. He's playing more of a deeper playmaker. I don't know what that means for his production. I really don't.
Well, he outproduced Santi this weekend by leaps and bounds.
Yes.
Points-wise.
And Santi's an early rotation risk. He gets pulled off at 65, 70 minutes pretty consistently. I don't know what this means for this team with Maxi playing deeper if he goes back to the 10. I think if you're on New York City players, you definitely want to be able to check that lineup and see who's going to start, see who's not, see what position they're in. Thiago Andrade is a guy, he's a forward in the game, but he's a guy who plays in that 3 line there, who's played really well all season, benched for the new kid, Gabriel Pereira. So maybe Pereira's out, Santi's on the wing, Maxi's back in midfield this week. I say proceed with caution with New York City and have a plan based on their lineup because they've got about 6-7 guys that can play in those front 3 to 4 spots. And we never know exactly how they're going to line up. And that could be Maxi forward. That could be Maxi in a little bit deeper. It could be one of these guys on the bench. I would say proceed with caution with all of them. Santi and Maxi are probably both potential not starting one game in this formation, in this lineup, because they've just got a wealth of attacking talent, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I agree with the concern here for Maxi's minutes. He's currently on my team, but I'm ready to pivot if he's not starting in that first game. Him moving back into more of a regista role doesn't really scare me off just because we just saw him do it for one game and it was awesome. And it's not like he got a couple of fluke scores in here or anything. He still put up consistent key passes. He actually hit his passing bonus point for the first time this season, which he does not do. And now he's adding in, some tackle points, some balls recovered. I think the extra time guys were talking about it on one of the MLS Todays or maybe the Real Pod, that he's just such a good soccer player. He knows so much about the game, and he's got the technical ability to play pretty much anywhere on the field and have success. And we just saw him move back and put up just as good of a score as he's done all year. And so if he's starting, he's in my team. And then to continue along with some of the other picks we've been having, I have Gazdag. I don't like it just because he's one of those goal and assist dependent guys, but he keeps getting those goals and assists. So I'm kind of just plugging my nose and picking him. I've got Reynoso and Hani Mukhtar. Those ones are pretty obvious picks for me, just being it's kind of on double game weeks like this where you have most of the league available. You kind of just sort midfielder by price and just click add until your team fills up. And so I do like Georgi Mihailovic this week. I've got him currently off my team just for a little bit of budget concerns, and I'm not sure about his health status. I know he was pulled early from the last game and was kind of grabbing at his hamstrings, so they might not want to rush him back for a full double game week. But if he's starting on Wednesday, then I think he's a great option. And then my last midfielder is Espinoza from San Jose. I think he's clearly been unlocked by the loss of Matias Almeida. And so he went straight into my team. And then I sorted it by price and started adding people.
If you do want to stick with Montreal and you're looking for a differential player, maybe this is going to do something for Tyler this week. But Torres has been coming on well. He's 5.9 in his last 3 games. He's got 2 goals and assist. Before that, he had another goal back in round 5. He's not a 90-minute player. He's going to get some subs, but if Jordy is out, then there's a good chance he might see some good significant minutes. And he's been producing something. So in a double game week, however, Nashville, Real Salt Lake have some tough defenses, so this might be a good time to fade them. But there's another option, just something that people might be considering.
Yeah, Reed, because I talk so much about New York City, Santi was my only major differential, but I'll steal what Chat's doing because I think they've made me think a little bit, and I'm kind of on there with them in this. I'm torn on the New York City one just because I'm worried about rotation and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're talking New York Red Bulls, and that's an interesting option to bring up. What do they got? Hosting Chicago and
so it's
at
tough
Miami.
though, because Morgan didn't play last weekend, and I haven't seen why. Maybe Chat can help. And then Laquinius got a red card. So you're picking from a real point spread of a midfield.
Yeah.
So Morgan was health and safety protocols.
Okay.
He's back in training since then. Should be good to go.
Yeah, and that's where I was coming in at. It's like I'm seeing people talk about Red Bulls, and it's kind of the scoring by committee. We never know who's going to hit. Laquinius is on that red card suspension for game 1, so I think that's an automatic out for him. And I haven't seen it from Morgan. I understand it. I like these matchups. I don't think Chicago's the defensive team they were to start the season. I worry that they will get back in form because Red Bull is struggling to score, and they'll look like that team that we've seen to start the year. But then I love that Miami matchup. But I'm seeing a lot of chatter in chat about Red Bulls and should we be looking at these guys? And I think it's worth bringing up here. I think you could take a flyer on Morgan as a bench play. I think these are decent matchups to go with it, especially with Laquinius out for the first game. It means it'll have to go through him, but I don't know. We keep going back and forth. We see Omir Fernandez hitting big every so often and then disappears. I don't know how you can trust this team, and I know Chat was really getting up and down on them, or just getting up on them and talking about them a little bit. I kind of wanted to squash that down a little bit because I think Cameron's right. You go through, you sort by, you hit that double game week checkbox to see all those guys, and you take the highest price ones and just fill your team in. And if you see one guy you like a little bit more that's a little farther down, you flip them in for somebody else. But the matchups are kind of there for all of these expensive premium guys.
Yeah, I kind of agree with your thoughts there on Morgan. He's definitely one that I am currently considering, but just don't have him in my team right now. He can easily, just really go off against Chicago and especially against Miami. And so
Miami's his former
full faith
team
for that. Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but solid. And Patrick's saying never put a mid on the bench in a double game week. But I mean, if you're taking Morgan, I think that's a solid bench play there because I think he could go off. I really do. I think this is two good matchups. But we've seen Morgan in this team. I could easily see Laquinius coming back, have him and Fernandez having a really good game, Morgan picking up 2 or 3 points in Miami, and then having a solid game. But I could still see him being an 8 or a 9 for this week. And I think that's definitely bench play when you're doing double game week auto roos all around the board. He could easily have a 20 as well. He's a bench play for me if you take him at all.
And another guy that you'll find sorting by price that I'm not sure we've mentioned yet is potential MVP candidate Driussi for Austin, who I just wanted to point out is probably a pretty solid play. We've seen that LAFC can be exploited, and Orlando, while still really good on defense, will be away for that game. We all know what Austin can do at home, so Driussi's another good play.
And what's funny is we didn't talk about him. He's a unanimous pick by all 3 of us. I don't know if Reed's got him too, but
I just assumed everybody else would talk about him.
Yeah, nobody talked about him because he was a unanimous pick.
He is one of those also kind of like guys that like you and I said, Kim. He's a little goal dependent. I know Pereira got a red card. I haven't watched them enough to know how that could impact their midfield. Because he'll be sitting out the first week. I don't know what he contributes to that build up to that play. Because every so often a loss like that will contribute to it, right? But yeah, LAFC defense suspect. most of the goals are coming through or around Driussi, and then they go home and play Orlando, who is kind of wishy-washy, right? But that Austin at home has been dominant. But yeah, I mean, he's someone I like. He's just not the one I like the most.
And one thing I was thinking is, since I am kind of hesitant on Mihailovic's minutes, if I can have Mihailovic in my team, and then if he's not starting, drop him down to Driussi and feel just fine about that. Whereas there's not a lot of other backup options if he ends up benched.
Yeah, I think you guys covered really well.
We got to jump in here because chat's correcting us. Ashley got us off track, and I followed with it. Luquinhas is not on a red card, apparently.
Who got a red card? Someone help tell us.
I guess it's not him. Okay, I
don't
jumped.
know if I said it. I think I agreed with someone, but I don't care. Who got a red card?
Dylan Nealis.
Dylan Nealis. Oh, well then in that case,
Yeah.
forget
Okay,
everything we said.
But still, so I think the same thing still goes there. We don't know who's going to hit for Red Bulls. And Luquinhas, I've got somebody in chat. I can't see it now. It's scrolled up too far. Said he's max 150 minutes, just the way he's been playing this season, rotation-wise. So I don't think Luquinhas is a 180 guy. I just that's what the thing is. And seeing how he's been rotated this year a little bit, I don't think he's a 180 guy on my own look either. So take that for what it is. But we have to correct that one. He is not on a red card warning or a red card suspension.
He scored the goal. That's what I did. He scored their goal right after Dylan Nealis got a red card.
There we go.
Too many notifications.
I didn't correct it. So
that's right. Thank you, Blaine, for trusting me.
There we go. And of course, the last thing to mention during this section is always D-mids. Before, in the smaller double game week, we talked up D-mids. For a larger double game week like this, you may want to shy away some from a D-mid. I mean, before, if they're going to put up 7 to 8 points, when you have, 4 to 6 teams playing, that might be good odds for having a solid defensive midfielder score. But when almost everybody, when 2/3 of the league is playing a double game week, including many of the best midfielders in the game, D-mids, while they may have that good floor, picking the right one, you're going against, hey, you get somebody who has 2 games of 8 with your 16, but then maybe you get Mukhtar who gets a 13 in one game and then an 8 in another, and then that's just going to blow that away. So for a round like this with so many double games, I'm not as hot on the D-mids just because of the quality of the other options that we have.
Yep.
So let's move on to forwards. A lot of similar thoughts right here. Taxi and Tati. Cameron, what do you have to say?
So I think they're pretty obvious for a reason. You've got probably the best striker in the league going against a DC defense that's proven to be exploitable, and then going against a Chicago defense that's proven to be exploitable. He's one that's on my bench just because of that potential for a yellow card suspension for that second game. But out of anybody in this group, I think he has the highest ceiling here, except for maybe DC's Taxi. He's immediately started scoring as soon as he came into the league and has not stopped. With 2 home games, that's somebody that it's hard to ignore. I've got those 2 both on my bench, and then Swiderski from Charlotte as my backup, just in case they both fail on my bench. Then I've got somebody there to come in and hopefully pick up a goal when they're both stuck on 4. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to be scrubbing Swiderski. There's a few other guys that I considered. You've got Jeremy Abovisi with 2 home games. He's a good price too. Just not currently in my lineup, but he was for much of the creation process. And then it's hard to ignore the recent production from Jesus Ferreira and Diego Rubio.
All right, Blaine.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 were easy inclusions for me. This is, for it being such a big double game week and me being a guy that's always high on taking forwards in double game weeks for just 2 bites at the apple, tons of chances here. I don't like a lot of the forwards this week. I just didn't see it. It was Tati and Taxi were my 2 go-tos. I like those. And Tati on the yellow card accumulation has to be a bench play for me. as much as I love him and think
He
this
gets
could be
yellows.
it's a cap. He is in this double game week. He is
Yeah.
a captainable option, but he is so prone to picking up yellows as a forward. I cannot trust him not to get a yellow in that first game. I do think that first game is enough of a good matchup to still take him, even with his tendency to pick up yellow cards. So there were those two. Ferrero was my third that I put in there. He has been scoring at a pretty decent pace, and he's probably got one of the best matchups going against defenses with at Vancouver and home to Minnesota. Those are two teams that are not playing very well defensively. Minnesota can put it together at times. I think he's got the two best matchups of any forward outside of the two we've talked about. And then third name, given the injury report, if Kyoto is out, I kind of like a shout for Kai Kamara this week. He's been making things happen off the bench. He's been getting involved. At Nashville is a tough game, but a home game against Salt Lake, it sounds really tempting for that. And he's going to be a little bit cheaper, and I know we're saying go stack up on all the premium high-priced guys that you can afford. If you are doing that across the board, Kamara could be a solid bench option for you to save a little bit of cash and free up money for other spots and still get a decent return.
All right, Ashley.
Yeah, I love Taxitati. I think I will end up sticking with what I currently have, which is Jimmy and Bobasi. I like those matchups both at home, Leaky Portland, Leaky Sporting Kansas City. I think that those are opportunities for him. One of those teams is his former team. I like that matchup. He's the bench play for me, but that's the third striker I like the most this week. I do like Campana, and I think that the stats back him, but something that doesn't back him is the matchups. And going to Philly and then playing at home against Red Bull are not two matchups that I like for him. Like we said, if goals come through Miami, they tend to go through him, but I don't know how many goals that team can get on those two defenses. So I think that's going to scare me away. An additional cheap shout I will give along with Blaine's recommendation is Giassi Zardes. I can't believe I'm saying that and Blaine's not. But Giassi took the first PK this past weekend. He's going to be playing along with Diego Rubio. I'm still not totally sure how that will work for them points wise. I think it'll be great for Colorado as an offense, but I'm interested to see how that works for them for points. But I think if you are looking for a budget bench play for someone who's on a double and has okay matchups, I think Giassi is a decent shout.
All right, well, let's wrap everything up with our captain picks. Blaine.
This is actually tougher than it looks, but I'm on Mukhtar right now for the double home game. I know he's not the sexy pick this week. I think I see guys that are outscoring him. I just can't tell where it's going to come from. But the double home advantage is such a big thing on some of these weeks. You go with the home game midfielder when you can. It happened last week. We talked about it with a little bit at the top of the show. Almada versus Heel. Almada outscored Heel at home. That was why I was looking at Atlanta anyways, because they had the home advantage. Mukhtar on a double home should be solid. I don't mind these matchups, but I'm not sure he's the best captain, but he's probably my safest option at the moment, so I'm on him.
Okay, Ashley.
Yeah, I had it on Mihal until Cameron said he pulled up holding his hammy. I hadn't caught that. I hadn't noticed that. I just looked at his stats for the weekend on my fantasy team. Didn't watch the game. So that has me a little hesitant. This is a tough one for me too. I see it going to a midfielder, but if it seems like he's healthy and he's trained all week, I think that Jordy's that guy for me. But I think you can make a case for 3 or 4 different people and have them all be pretty valid. So I am a wishy-washy choice this week for yours.
Cameron.
So I'm not super wishy-washy on my choice this week because I do agree with Blaine that you go for the double home game midfielder, and I'm picking the one with the best matchups. And so that's Espinoza for me. He's been on a tear, and he's playing 2 teams that are not exactly the greatest at defense, but still have enough firepower to create one of those classic 3-3 chaos matches. And Espinosa is going to be involved in all of that. And so he immediately got my armband, and I don't really foresee taking it off, but we'll see how the week goes. Another one that I would shout out is I don't captain forwards unless they are big bonus point producers, but I think Taxi deserves a shout out here. If he can, score 2 more braces, then that's a lot of points that you're going to be doubling.
Yep. No, I see.
I want to say Cat loves Taxi right now.
Yeah, we all love Taxi. Taxi's great. Where did he come from?
Yeah. And again, if you're going against me in a head-to-head, do that because I won't. I just can't do forwards. But yeah, the Espinosa one is what has me thinking. My first thought was also Mukhtar, but Espinosa, you all make some really good points.
Reed, what do you always say about San Jose, though?
Do you know the way?
Not old. You always say, don't bet on them, don't bet against them.
That's true.
San Jose is one of those teams.
Exactly. They're that second tier up, just like Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So we see. Who knows?
Oh, you're missing it. San Jose are if Barrios was an actual team.
I don't know about that. That's good. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
I don't think
I like
anyone's
that.
on that level.
I don't know. That is very crazy. But all right. Well, yeah. No, that covers pretty much everyone that we hear. Oh, one person says the JLo FPL Wagner at the moment. That's brave. That's brave for
Wagner.
Capping a defender who is
On
on
a
a yellow card warning.
watch?
So
Listen,
He wasn't on yellow card warning. It makes a little bit of sense.
But
I'm not saying it makes sense, but it makes. I mean, I give it just a little bit.
it's bold. It's bold.
I like the boldness.
So we'll see. Yeah, we like that.
Favor the bold.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us tonight. I hope you were able to get some insights into this double game week that's coming up. Again, remember, the teams start to lock on Wednesday, and a lot of them, that's pretty much everybody who locks on Wednesday. So make sure your lineup is set. Games kick off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's all that we have for tonight. So let's wrap it up with plugs. Cameron.
The evergreen plug of join the Discord. It is just an invaluable tool and pretty irreplaceable. And also support your local soccer teams. Come to Omaha, come see a Union Omaha match, and then go back and find your USL or USL League One team or your NISA team and go to a few of those matches.
There we go. Lexington.
Yeah.
Blaine.
Nothing for me this week.
Ashley.
I haven't been here, so I feel like the fact that I've held it in this long is impressive. But I would love to shout out the first actual ever CONCACAF Champions League winners, the Seattle Sounders. If you're not proud, you're bitter. So
You're not wrong.
They were brought to
Accurate.
you by last week, so it's okay.
Oh my God! Of course they were on the week I wasn't here. Tyler was here. It's pretty close.
We had to. I mean, I couldn't just not do it because you weren't here. That was the
that's
relevant one. We had to.
I mean, yeah, I'm only saying it because I haven't been here. I promise I won't be one of those insufferable people. But my husband cried. It was a really big day for us.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, Reed made your Sounders the brought to you by on a week when Cincinnati gets the double clean sheet.
I know. You know that's how important it was.
I did.
It's a big
It was.
deal.
Like I
It's
said,
a big deal.
I
Yeah.
recognize that. That's right. I'm not bitter. Not bitter.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, for me, be sure to check out MLSFantasyBoss.com. We'll be doing our best to put out as much content as we can, including the Discord poll if we can. That's what tends to go on the wayside because that gets pretty hectic. But we'll see if Tyler's able to get out his differentials. But we'll have differentials. That's right. I still need to get a
Very
picture.
important.
I still need to get an image of that. Maybe it should be a picture of Tyler. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But we'll go for that. But yes, head over to MLSFantasyBoss.com. Head over to our Patreon if you're interested in learning how to support this show at patreon.com/MLSFI. And of course, follow us all on Twitter and the social media. It's a lot of fun to interact with people there. And the Discord, as we've already mentioned multiple times, check it out. It is the place to be for all the chat and community that we have. That's all that we have for tonight. And as always, good luck.